Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Kash Ali has grabbed the vacant IBF European title with a third-round stoppage of Tomas Salek. And this was a fight where Kash Ali looked improved from recent outings, and he was uppercut happy, and that shot was landing right throughout. So we'll get to some of the action and then a few thoughts on the what next, because there's different options that he could go now that he's got this IBF title, but we'll talk about it. But first, the action proper. First round, it was a feeling out round. Kash Ali on the jab, on the move, and he looked really good behind his jab. And I did think that some of the work that he's been putting in with his trainer Richard Towers, it did look like it was sort of coming to fruition in the ring. He looked like he was fighting in a good rhythm. In front of him, he had Tomas Salek, who was a young guy, 15-2 record, a guy though who is pretty green, pretty raw, 22 years old. He definitely looked pretty rudimentary and a cut below Ali, and that sort of showed through that first round. Ali was able to control him with the jab, and it was round two where things started to heat up for Kash Ali. Started to unload the uppercut, and he just couldn't miss. So he drops Tomas Salek in this round. Some really vicious uppercuts coming in, and he goes down, beats the count, but his nose is busted up pretty badly. And the third round, it was pretty much a continuation. In the third round as well, somehow sustained a cut over his left eye. Wasn't immediately clear because we didn't see a replay, but he was starting to sort of ship some punishment. He did actually sort of rally for the early part of the third round after that knockdown in round two, but ultimately Kash Ali back on the uppercut, and it was 3 consecutive uppercuts that puts Salek down for the second time in the fight. He gets up, tries to beat the count, but the referee, Howard Foster, doesn't like what he sees. It's all over, and there were no complaints from Tomas Salek, and he was starting to take a bit of a pasting. And there must have been, 15, clean, really eye-catching uppercuts that landed and put the hurt on Tomas Salek. A feature of the fight, the uppercut, obviously. Also, the jab. He looked very good on the jab, Kash Ali. He advances to 18-1, and he picks up the vacant European IBF title. Good performance overall. I mean, he was the favourite heading into this fight, and I think for good reason. Tomas Salek is a guy that every time he's really sort of stepped up, he's been beaten. He's been stopped by the likes of Peter Guerrero, and also beaten on decision by Pavel Sauer. And the what next for Kash Ali is interesting, because the commentators were sort of jazzing it up, really sort of laying it on thick that this sort of title opens the door potentially to a world title and really big fights. But, that is laying it on a little bit too thick. I think what's clear, because they were fighting on a platform called Fight Zone, and it was great because I could get that here in New Zealand, and you didn't have to look for a stream or anything. You were able to get the product direct, which was really good. I think more people should be doing sort of these global, streaming services as opposed to just by region. So that was really good for me, and it was a quality broadcast. It was a good product. But I think what they're going to do, because they're looking to make this Fight Zone a success, he's going to end up fighting on there. I mean, despite the commentators mentioning the names of, say, a Daniel Dubois, Joe Joyce, or potentially fighting other guys, I think what we'll see, at least for the meantime, while they continue to build Kash Ali back up after that loss to David Price. Obviously, a couple of years ago now, he bit David Price. He did sort of have to pay a bit of a punishment after that, and he's working his way back. I think because of the sort of launching of this Fight Zone platform, a lot of shows, it's sort of replacing some of that small hall scene to some extent, because they can have these cards broadcast and people can get them, without having to go to venues, etc. I think what they'll do is they're going to have him headline some more cards. I would think at least 2 or 3 more. Now that they've got this vacant European, European IBF title, I think they will look to defend it a couple of times. And a guy who Tomas Salek had previously fought, Pavel Sauer, who's also being wheeled out against the likes of Filip Hrgović, Hughie Fury. It wouldn't surprise me if a guy like Pavel Sauer is someone that they will bring in for Kash Ali, because I think he can get some rounds from Pavel Sauer, but ultimately he will beat him. And obviously Nathan Gorman stopped Pavel Sauer recently too. I think Sauer is the type of opponent in terms of that level where I think they will have another fight or two before trying to step Kash Ali up. Despite the talk of, big fights, big money, all that sort of stuff down the line, I think for now they're just going to keep it at a certain level, 1 or 2 defenses, and then probably step it up after that. But the jab was good in this fight, the uppercut, that was money, and also I thought Kash Ali, from recent performances, different fights, he looked in better shape. And I think that is certainly going to be good for his cause, as he continues in his career. If he's putting his best foot forward on the training front in terms of his physical fitness, the shape that he's coming in, that is only going to help him. And I do think that, if he was to take some fights, say at the domestic level, there is some guys that you could go, maybe that makes sense. Dave Allen's announced that he's coming back. So Dave Allen versus Kash Ali, I think that's probably a reasonably matched fight at this point for Ali. Someone like a Nick Webb, that would make sense, I think, too. But Webb is going to be fighting Fabio Wardley. Well, should I say that has been ordered by the British Boxing Board of Control, and they are looking to make that fight. But that's that sort of level right now. I think Ali, if he says he's got ambitions of becoming a heavyweight champion. I'll get to his comments really quickly from the post-fight. So he talked about the uppercut, that once he started to land it, he just wanted to keep throwing it. He says, I'll fight anyone. He's looking forward to continuing to fight on Fight Zone 2. He feels that he's getting better and better, and that he is a threat to anyone. I think against this level of opponent, he showed that his level is above it, that he's a cut above, a class above the guys like Tomas Salek. But if you were to put him in against a guy like David Price again, that's a whole different sort of level. And from that fight where, obviously against David Price, I think Price was winning that fight. There were some moments and spots of success for Kash Ali, but, he wasn't winning that fight. But he's a couple of years on now. He looks improved in terms of his conditioning. Under Richard Towers, I think he's improving. So, Price and Ali at some point, I wouldn't mind sort of seeing it. But I do think they will be having him on Fight Zone a few more times, which means keep the expectations in check in terms of name opponents, guys that will command money, that sort of thing. It's more likely he's going to be the A side as opposed to being, the away fighter, being the B side on a Matchroom or, Frank Warren card, etc. I think they'll use that platform, probably bring in some guys, some Eastern Europeans to face him. So we'll see what happens next for Kash Ali. But good performance here. What did you make of it all? If you caught it, drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.